Perfect. All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us this morning. I know some people are still actually on spring break too, Beth. I know on the
Yeah,
West Coast they're on spring break.
yeah.
But
Lots of people
thank you
are.
guys for tuning in. Beth and I are super excited. We're really excited to have Brianne join us today. She's an Emerald Ambassador. If you do not follow her already, be sure and follow her. I love following her. I just love following her life. Like Beth said, she lives on a dairy farm. It's so interesting. I love following her pictures. She's pretty much, I believe she's won every convention prize there is. She is on the leaders board. You've seen her name. Her team is in full momentum. So we all have something to learn from her. So we're excited to have her share. If you want to share your story and then anything after that, any tips, training, that's all you, girl.
Thank you for that. It gives me chills because sometimes I feel like when people describe it, it's like an out of body experience for me because it doesn't seem, not that I don't deserve it, but it doesn't seem like this is the way that my life would have been. And I never, ever, ever would have pictured this. I mean, even 2.5 years ago, I never would have pictured that God would have used the struggles that we were going through to put us on this path and where we are now. And I always tell people that if I can do this living here, y'all can do this anywhere you are at. I do live on a dairy farm with my husband and our 3 kids. They are 4.5, 6, and 8. And they're all at school today. I was going to go over and I work with my dad a couple of days a week. He has a business. And I decided to stay home today just because it was a day with no kids and nobody in the house because my son doesn't go to school every day. So I'm really, really honored to be here and just to share a little bit of my heart with you guys and hopefully encourage you in some manner. If you have any questions, don't hesitate and stop, like unmute yourself and stop and ask me along the way so I don't leave anything out. But just a little bit of background about me. I started 2.5 years ago with Plexus, and it was not anything that I wanted. I was a probiotic snob. I thought that Plexus was not going to be able to offer anything that I didn't already have. And I was that girl that was rolling her eyes and scrolling faster. And I would call up my sister-in-law and snicker about all of the different MLM posts. And so I didn't want anything to do with it. But really quick background story, because we have a crazy health testimonies in our family. But in a 3.5 year time span, I had all 3 of my babies. I was a school teacher at the time. I woke up one morning and my knee was really swollen, but we were building our house and we live in the middle of absolute nowhere, y'all. Like, I don't even have cell phone signal most of the time where I live. And that's what I mean. If I can do this living here, you can do this anywhere, because it is not about the size of your town. It is not about the size of your social media outlet. I wasn't even posting on Facebook when I started this journey. It is about your goals and your dreams and your why and where you want to be. And so I woke up one morning, my knee was really swollen, and I just thought that maybe I twisted it walking up the hill to where we were building our house. I went to school because I didn't have sub plans ready. I was a basketball coach at the time. My athletic trainer walked in the room to check on a couple of my girls, and he took one look at me and he was like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need to get to the emergency room, because by then my knee had swollen. So like my dress pants were really tight. I remember these black pants that I had on, and they were always really loose on my knees, but my knee just kept swelling over the time. And it felt like a really tight rubber band. Like, I won't ever forget that feeling. Like I couldn't bend it or my skin was just going to break. So I went to the emergency room. My oldest daughter was 11 months old at the time. And they started running all these tests on me. Thought maybe I had a blood clot. I'm 33 now, so I was 26 when this was all happening. And long story short, in 3 years after that, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, celiac disease, and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I was having migraines, cyclical migraines where I would lose my vision. You name it, I felt like I had it. But I also went on to have 2 more babies in that amount of time, and I felt amazing when I was pregnant. And so we thought that it was just something to do with hormones. I poured into books. I wanted to know everything there was to know about health, but I never really had heard gut health before. I was just reading lots of books about diet and different ways that I could control it. Because one of the medicines that they gave me for my RA, they told me I would need to go back every 6 months and have my eyes checked because I could go blind. At 26 years old, they just handed it to me like it was candy, and that was their answer for everything. But then what really kind of set us on this path was when my daughter was 14 months old. So just a few months after my diagnosis had started, she was with my mom, and my mom, we were worried about her iron levels. She was a preemie baby, and she was just always really kind of small. And so my mom had tried to give her a little piece of a cashew, and thank God she spit it out, but she went into anaphylactic shock just from that really small piece of cashew. And so we rushed her to the emergency room. And over the next 3 years, by the time she was 4.5, we had discovered that she had an anaphylactic food allergy to tree nuts. We living on a dairy farm, we couldn't give her dairy. She had a dairy intolerance. Anytime she had anything with eggs, her skin would break out, like her eczema would get even worse, to the point where it was cracking and bleeding. At 4.5, we found out, because we took her in for her blood allergy screenings when they would do the prick tests on her back, and her skin inflamed crazy amounts, like dust, pollen, dander, grass, you name it, she would swell. Our allergist pretty much told us that she just needed a bubble to live in. And at 4.5, she was diagnosed with a carrot intolerance, like the orange carrots that bunnies eat. She couldn't have carrots anymore. And I just remember walking out of that appointment, and I just sat in the car. My mom always went with me to the appointments, and I just sobbed because I didn't know what else to do for a 4.5-year-old at that point. Like, how many other foods could we eliminate? And so I, like so many people do, I posted on Facebook about it, just kind of like, I just wish, that Riley was okay and that there was an answer. And I had an acquaintance, not even somebody that I was really close with, message me and asked me about Plexus. And I had quit teaching already to stay home with my 3 kids because of Riley's allergies and all of my health issues. And I had started a vinyl business in my basement, just making like the vinyl decals that you put on walls, just to help out, because farming is not lucrative in any sense of the way. Like, we had a very new house, we had 3 kids, I needed to do something to help with the groceries, right? So she bought something off of my vinyl shop, and I know now that she did it, like I know what that edification process is, but I know that she did it just hoping that I would like return the favor and buy something off of her. And I'm a very yellow personality. So of course I ordered Plexus, I got the ProBio and the Cleanse, and I had it in my mind I was going to prove her wrong and all of these other people. Like, it was not going to work. There wasn't anything to it. So I ordered as a preferred customer 3 years ago. I took the products for 2 weeks. And I remember thinking that my cravings were off the charts. Like, I could eat a bag of marshmallows before I would go to bed at night and thought that it was completely normal. But I remember thinking like, oh, I just had something to eat, and I don't need anything sweet. But it wasn't enough for me. Like, that wasn't my why. And so life got busy. I was getting these auto shipments that just ended up making me mad because my sponsor didn't really follow up with me. And so I called and I stopped everything, and I quit for 6 months. I quit Plexus. And it still gives me chills to say that, because I know that God was prepping me in that 6 months. And I know that he was bringing me around to something that was going to be so much bigger than myself and so much bigger than anything that I had imagined. But what I want you guys to know is that, and I know sometimes, especially now after I've started sharing this, you get these people that you've been talking to, and you're so excited because they finally ordered, and you've been wanting them to order for so long. Or even maybe if they just randomly messaged you and they ordered the first time that they asked about it. We get so excited about that, right? Because their lives are about ready to change, and everything is going to be different for them. And then like a week into it, it's crickets. Like, they go into the PPP, the Plexus Protection Program, and they're nowhere to be found. You can't find them. They won't answer you back. And it just feels like you're doing something wrong. I tell my team all the time, don't stop loving on people. Just because they've stopped the products does not mean that they won't come back. But this whole thing is all about relationships. And if you're not still edifying them, and you're not still letting them know that you are there and that you are willing to help them every step of the way, they will go to somebody else, because they will come back. People always come back to this journey. And so 6 months later, same thing. She had bought something else off of vinyl. My direct sponsor does not really work the business. So I think it was a complete, and I'm going to say this a lot because I was really angry, and I hope you guys don't mind that I talk about this stuff, but I was really angry with God for a long time for the journey that I was on. I grew up in a very conservative Christian house. I mean, I just, I was angry. I don't know that there's any other way to describe it, from everything that Riley was going through, everything that we were going through with our health. And I see now the way that he lined me up for all of that, and that he absolutely uses our struggles and our moments of weakness to do something completely grand when we're ready and in his timing. And so she came back, bought something else off of me from Vinyl, and said, listen, you really need to try this, but you need to try it. You need to give it an honest 30 days. And I want you to do this pink drink. And I looked at it and I was like, listen, it's called Slim. I don't need like the weight loss at all in this. That's not what I'm going for. I mean, I could stand to lose a little bit of weight, but that was not, again, my why. But I decided to try the triplex. I was going to give it 30 days and be really honest with myself. I have a very addictive personality. And so when I start something, like, I want to make sure that I'm devoted to it and that I'm giving it time. And honestly, after that 30 days, the rest was history. I mean, I felt so good. I had days before we started this where my husband was literally picking me up out of bed and getting me into the shower because my joints wouldn't work. And I can sleep on the floor now with my kids and have a camp over in the living room. And it still amazes me every time because I don't wake up in pain. Then I started my daughter on it, and that 2 years, she has not had one allergy medication. We are back roads people living on a farm. We show cows at our local county 4-H. And she got to show a cow this summer and sleep in the hay with the cow all night. Like, that might sound really hickish, but it gives me chills every single time because that was not something that was ever in the cards for her. And the only thing, Beth, I just saw that pop up. I can't see chats on here very much because I'm on my phone, but the only 2 products that we started her on at first were the ProBio and the BioCleanse. Within 30 days, she was off of her allergy medication. That does not happen for everybody. And I always tell people that the reason that this happened for us, I believe, along with Plexus, is that she was already off of all of her high intolerant foods. So she was allowed to have that process of healing started. You know, she was off of gluten, she was off of dairy, she was off of eggs. Like, her diet was really bland. And so I know that it let these products really work. Because allergies, so many of us think that allergies are like this outward sign, but it's an inward sign of outward inflammation that we have to get to the root of. And so she's doing amazing. She had social anxieties. And I just posted about it last night. She started softball this year. And for her to be able to go and do anything before, she would hide behind me. I would have to bribe her with whatever the latest toy was to get her to talk to people and like to go and do things, you know, in a school setting. She never wanted to be in front of people. I mean, I have my little girl back in every sense of the way. And so health testimony was amazing for us. Like, we were feeling it right away. And I had called up my mom. My mom has Lyme's and fibromyalgia. And I remember talking to her on the phone, and she was seeing everything that was happening with Riley, and I wanted her to start this. So I didn't know how else to have somebody sign up. At this time, I was about 6 weeks into it. And maybe it was like 3 or 4 weeks into it with her when I had my mom sign up. But anyway, I just had my mom sign up wholesale because my direct sponsor had not really messaged me back about anything. And so I didn't know how else to have her sign up. I had my mom sign up as wholesale. I called 2 other allergy mamas and I had them sign up too, because I didn't know how to be a preferred customer. Like, I just knew that they needed the triplex and that they were going to start on it. Well, I ended up going silver and not really knowing what silver was. And my second sponsor, who hit Emerald the same month that our team hit Emerald, she messaged me and she said, you have this amazing health testimony and you just went silver. You should really start like posting on Facebook and telling people about this. And I messaged her back and I said, don't ever message me again. I do not want this business. I am not a salesperson and I will never, ever, ever post on Facebook about Plexus. That is not me. Another God moment, because she messaged me back and she said, you know what, that's great. We don't want salespeople. We want shares people. and that's what you are. I can already tell from your personality. And had she not said that to me that day, I don't think I would be here, because of that yellow personality that I have. Just the wording that I could share something that was going to change people's lives was all that it took for me. And so I tell my team this all the time too. Color personalities are not everything. You need to be a chameleon in this business. You absolutely need to be able to appeal to everybody. But I also think that it's really, really important that you know the people that you are reaching out to. You know, if you're going to message somebody about something, go to their Facebook first, see what they're doing, see what they're about, and then message them based on those things. You know, if she would have told me, hey, you could have a Plexus Lexus and you could go to Hawaii, that would have been amazing, but I didn't want the business. So knowing that I would have needed to get to this like emerald status that I had no clue about would not have appealed to me, because that wasn't what was driving me. So know the people that you're reaching out to. Take the color personality test and know what you are so that you can be comfortable with yourself. The Enneagram, have you guys done any of the Enneagram training with your team or taken the numbers? Another thing, Jessica Heffley says this all the time, but I started counseling a couple of months ago, and it has completely changed my world. If you can counsel with anybody, I went to school for psychology, so I knew how important it was. But I found a counselor that I love that's a phone conversation, so it's not somebody in my small town that I see every single day. But if you can do that, do that. Because one of the things you're going to hear people talk about personal growth on this journey all the time. But until you learn to really, truly love yourself, the products and everything else that you can do in this is going to be second to that always. You can have the most incredible health testimony, but if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that you have something worth sharing with people, you won't go very far. It will take you a little ways. You know, you'll be able to make a few ranks maybe. But if you don't believe in the power of your words and believe in the power of doing things scared and stepping outside of those comfort zones, you can have every dream in the book, but they're going to stay as wishes and dreams. They're not going to be able to become reality for you. So know who you are. Take the Enneagram, find out what number you are, take the personality quizzes, and learn to love yourself. Enneagram is ENNEAGRAM. It basically numbers you from 1 to 9. It has changed my relationships with people. It has changed how I talk to my team, knowing what the things are that they are going for and that they want, and how to be able to talk to them when they get in those hard times has been so, so key for me. So that was one of the very first things that I started. I started diving into reading books, but I had every excuse possible as to why this was not going to work. I had 3 kids under 5 at the time. My husband is gone. When I started this, it was in the fall. So he's usually gone from about 5:30 in the morning until like 11:30 or 12 at night. So we don't see him. Like, he's out in the fields, he's doing things. And I was working the vinyl business. I was helping my dad. So I said that I didn't have time. If that is your excuse, that you cannot find the time, or if you are talking to somebody and they cannot find the time, be bold with them. We say all the time, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. You can find the time. It's that classic, instead of telling yourself that you don't have time, tell yourself that it's not important. Because that was a huge mindset shift for me. I was saying that I didn't have the time, but the things that I needed out of this were the things that I needed to make time for. But quite honestly, it scared me. I didn't want to be posting on social media because I was way too worried what other people were going to think about me, especially living in this small town. You see everybody everywhere. And I was so worried that they were going to be like, oh, look, it's the Plexus girl, and she's not going to talk to us unless she's like pouncing us with Plexus. But now I'm proud to do that. And not that I pounce people with Plexus, but I'm proud to be that person because it's changed so many things for people. Get to events. That was the one thing that changed so much for me. My first Super Saturday in January, I remember sitting in that room. It was Kristen Abart and Jennifer Leith, and I just felt like Jennifer was just talking directly to me. And I came home that day and I told my husband, I was like, listen, I know I'm not making very much. I was a silver ambassador at the time. I said, I know I'm making enough to cover our products, and it's not like it is with my vinyl business because I had built that up over 2 years. But there's really something in this that I feel. And he is my number one supporter. Like he was just like, all right, let's quit your vinyl business. We'll make it work. We'll find the time. We'll get what we need to do. And so I did. I decided to jump all in. I'm not telling you to quit your job today, to walk in and just quit, but find the time for the things that you're passionate about. If you jumped on this call, it's because you feel something with this business. It's because you feel something with these products. So don't shy away from that. The things that we feel passionate about, those are our callings. And so often I think that we tend to shy away from them because we want to live this like conventional life, and we want to do the things that we're supposed to do and have, the job or be the stay-at-home mom. And we feel like we can't do it all, but you can do it all. And if you've got that feeling inside of you, you've got to go with it. So get to events. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 people in a room and you're just talking about Plexus, that's an event. Share those things with people. But every single one of you, I know that no matter how long I'm in this, I'm always going to have goals. So whatever your goal is, if we stopped right now for 30 seconds and you let yourself dream, whatever you close your eyes and you can picture yourself doing, stop just picturing it in your head. Because the first times that I started writing things down on paper, it brings so much power to that. Like to take the words from your head and put them from pen to paper and look at them and read them and say them out loud is so powerful. But I tell my team all the time, you can't stop there. You have to find somebody on this journey, whether it is your upline, your sideline, your spouse, a best friend, somebody, and tell them about those goals. Because you have to have somebody that's holding you accountable, or when you're on that roller coaster, because this is not always easy, you will quit. Because it's so much easier to go back into those comfort zones and not keep stretching. But I'll never forget Sarah Marble had this illustration when we were at Jewel training, and she held her hands up and she said, this is your circle. Like this is your comfort zone. But the second that you step outside of that comfort zone, your circle grows. And you can never, ever, ever go back to where that comfort zone was before. You might step back a little bit. You might hold yourself back a little bit. But if you keep stepping, that comfort zone is going to keep growing. And that's where your dreams are going to happen. And that hit me so hard because I had talked about things, but I didn't really voice a lot of my dreams and my goals because I didn't want to fail. But there is no failing in Plexus. And I truly, truly believe that this is the one journey that we can have in life where there's not a deadline for this. When you're in college or you're taking quizzes or whatever, or tests, you have a deadline. Like you have to study, you have to take the test, you have to ace it. When you're in a 9-to-5 corporate world, when I was teaching, I had things that I had to do every day. If I didn't do it, I would have gotten fired. But with Plexus, if you don't make a goal one month, it's okay. Keep to that goal, but realign yourself and go for your goal the next month. There's nothing holding you back from going for goal after goal after goal in this. But another thing that will hold you back is if you're one that's just taking that goal and you're writing it on a paper and you're talking to somebody about it, you need to take it one step further and you need to look at your excuses. Because I still had them. Even now I still have them. But I train my team all the time that if you don't look at your excuses, your goal is still just a wish. And it's really, really important to know what's really holding you back and being honest with yourself about it. It's one thing to say you want to be a gold ambassador and you need 20, levels 1 through 3 to be active. That's perfect. That's your steps to get there, right? But what are your steps that are keeping you from getting there? Are you saying you want to be a diamond ambassador and maybe only messaging one person a day? Sure, maybe you could get there in 20 years. But if you want to get there in the next 5 years or the next year, whatever it is for you, you can't just message one person a day. So what are your excuses? Why are you only messaging one person a day? Are you worried about what the people are going to think about you? Or are you worried about what's going to happen if you don't message them? I've had some people that have messaged me afterwards and said, I don't know where I would be. And I'm the same way. I don't know where my family would be right now, 2.5 years into this journey. And this will make me really emotional, but my husband, like the farm is struggling. Dairy farming is really, really tough right now. farmers have the highest suicide rate of any other profession in the country right now. And we have not had to take a cent off of the farm in the last 8 months. My family would not be here without Plexus. My health would not be here. My dreams would not be coming into fruition. And my husband would have had to sell the farm, something that's been in his family for 200 years, if we would not have Plexus right now. And you have that power. You have the power to do that for somebody else. And for me now, it almost feels like a sin if I'm not telling people about that. Because people looking at me would never have guessed. Some of my very best friends did not know how much I was struggling. They did not know that I couldn't walk up and down the stairs with my daughter. I couldn't carry her. We crawled together for about 6 months because my joints weren't strong enough. I didn't tell people that because I was ashamed of it. But I was still posting like everything was okay on Facebook, right? So stop prejudging people. Stop looking at other people and thinking, oh, they don't need this, I'm not going to message them. Because the number 1 and 2 things that people go to bed at night and they are worried about are their health and their finances. And you have something that will absolutely change everything in that. I tell people all the time, and maybe you've heard me say this, but I guarantee you, if somebody called you up and they're like, hey, you can go on this amazing trip and you can take a couple people with you, who is it going to be? You would hang up that phone. You would call up your mom, your best friend, your cousin, whoever it is, and you would take them on that trip. You wouldn't go on that trip by yourself and see what the airline is about. You wouldn't go to the restaurants and see what the food's like. You wouldn't stroll the beaches to see how nice it is. You would just grab them and go. You get to do that right now for 9 cents a day. That's what this membership costs. For 9 cents a day, you can grab every single person that you need and you can take them on a trip of a lifetime. But the only person that gets to decide that is you. You can get off of any call. You can do anything you want. You can read anything you want in your team pages. You guys have phenomenal leaders. You can look to them for anything. But if you're not willing to do it, nothing's going to happen for you. And I think that was one of the biggest blessings in my journey. Was my closest diamond upline that was working the business was Lori and Jetty Harrison. They're 7 levels up from me. In between me was senior. I think the highest rank was a senior gold when I joined. Most of them were silvers or not even silvers. And I don't say that because I did something amazing. I say that because you can do it no matter what circumstances you have. It does not matter that you have an upline or a downline or a sideline. Like, be your own rock star. If I tell my team that I want them to add 3 people in a month, I better be adding 6. If I tell them to add 1, I better be adding 2. Whatever I'm asking them to do as their leader, if I'm not willing to do that and more, then I can't expect them to do those things either. But you have to be your own rock star every single day on this journey, because it will be hard. There are going to be times when you want to quit. I've had several in the last couple of weeks, even at this level. Just your rank doesn't define anything for you. I mean, it's amazing. I got to take my parents for their 40th anniversary to Hawaii last year because my husband couldn't go. Like, that, it still is crazy to my dad. Even still tells people like, oh yeah, my daughter took us to Hawaii. Like, that would never ever have happened in my wildest dreams, but it did because I said yes to an opportunity, and I'm not afraid to share that. And you guys can do that every single day on this. I'm sure there's something that I left out, but I go on tangents.
I could listen to you like all day. This has been like the best thing ever. I'm not even kidding. Oh my gosh.
I know. I wish you could see these comments, Brianne. I don't know if you can see them or not. You said you're on your phone.
On my phone.
Everyone, so good. This is amazing. Incredible testimony. What an amazing health testimony. I needed to hear all of this today. Thank you for sharing your heart with us. You are so inspiring. Thank you for being real and raw. This has been so good. Thank you for your transparency and honesty. People are still typing. I had chills the whole time. So it really was amazing. I was texting Beth. I was like, I knew she was a badass rock star, but I had no idea about your amazing testimony. We had no idea about your story. So
I think that that's the biggest thing that I want people to get on this, is that it's so much more than products. And I get so emotional about this because there are so many men and women that are looking for what we have. Like that, I mean, the products too, but just to feel good and to be on a journey that they're accepted in. You know, like I know at any point in time that I could go to any Plexus person and say, this is what's on my heart. Can you pray for me? Or I just need help in this area. And they would do it in the drop of a dime. And they don't even necessarily have to know who I am. But so many people walk around, and we are all, my mom and I say it all the time, people are walking wounded. Like we have so many scars and baggage. And, you know, I love the whole analogy. Like, what if people were walking around with sticky notes on their body, and on those sticky notes were the things that they were really feeling inside? Like, how would you treat that person if you knew the things that they were really thinking and feeling? And you get to do that with people. You know, you get to talk to people in a real way. And you can message them about issues that nobody talks about, but that everybody should be talking about because we're all dealing with it. You know, even just picking up the phone, you don't have to talk Plexus, but pick up the phone and be real with somebody today. Because the world, oh my gosh, we're lacking it. And I mean, that's a whole other tangent, but like that's what people want us to be on this. And we have something that allows us to do that.
Hey, there is a question. Can we ask a question? I have a question too. Somebody asked, what protocol did you use for your 4-year-old with the bio cleanse? We used a probiotic 5 and kids vitamins already, is what somebody said.
I love the new kids vitamins. I actually did not love the old kids vitamins, like the original version of it, because of the sugar cane in it, and because it was lacking the aloe, and because it was lacking the probiotic. I do love the new kids version. And I don't say that in a negative way. Like, it was far better than any other vitamin that was out there. And so I still recommended it to people. I don't know if you guys have seen the scale, like the gradient scale, the stages 1 through 4 of Candida. Do you guys have that?
I don't think I've seen that.
I'll send it to you in that group chat, but it's basically like stage 1 is like dandruff, you know, like there's just different things than when you're at the beginning stages of Candida. But by the time you're in stage 4, which is like autoimmune disorders, extreme allergies, you have this Candida overgrowth that something has to be done with. And the kids' vitamin is lacking that antifungal. It doesn't have the chitosanase in it. And so with my daughter, I knew that going into it. My husband calls me a huge dork. Like, I'm that person that's reading articles still at 1 o'clock in the morning because I just need to understand things. But I knew that Riley, my oldest with all of the allergies, she needed that. She needed the aloe component for healing, and she needed that antifungal. So when I have people start kids on those products, if they are in those higher stages of Candida, I have them start the original, the green bottle of X Factor, excuse me. And then I have them start the ProBio and the cleanse. And what I did for all 3 of my kids, they were 2, 3, and 5 when we started this. And I still do it every single night before they go to bed. I open up the capsules and I put it in applesauce. And they just take a couple bites of the applesauce. I do all 3 products all together, so it's done and it's over, and I don't have to think about it. But when I start kids on it, I do it really small, like a quarter of a capsule, and then have them build up after that.
How much does your daughter take now? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's fine. She gets pretty much one full capsule of the X Factor, 1 ProBio, and like a third of the Bio Cleanse.
Okay, gotcha.
Up until probably 3 or 4 months ago, I was opening up 2 capsules of ProBio, 2 X Factor, and 1 cleanse. And I just put them in the applesauce, and they get 2 bites. But Riley, my oldest, would get a couple, like her bites would be bigger. So she was getting a little bit more.
Yeah. Somebody else asked why the original X Factor and not the Plus.
The Plus tastes disgusting, and I wouldn't make them gag that down. There's not really another reason besides that. I'm quite sure that my son has the MTHFR gene because I'm quite sure that I have it. He has a genetic disorder on top of that. So I would love to give them that, but they can't swallow capsules yet.
Yeah.
And if you open up that X Factor Plus, it's pretty rank. So I wouldn't do that to them. I'm that mom that's like, listen, I'll hold you down if you're not going to take it, because I know that this is doing something for you. But the Plus is pretty bad to open.
My kids, well, actually, you know, the X Factor and the X Factor Plus, it all just kind of depends on what works for you, like everything, I think, too. And I know like 3 of us take the original and my husband takes the Plus, and it really is just because it works, you know, how we handle it or whatever. My question for you is, I'm yellow with some blue, but I really am yellow. And I know you said you were. And so a lot of times, and I know that we have lots of yellows on here, so I'm going to ask you your opinion. Like lots of times, like you said, when you said you told your sponsor you would never, or your second sponsor who, that you would never post on Facebook. I told Celeste the same thing. I was like, nope, you're crazy. And the whole reason was I was like, what are people going to think of me? They're going to unfriend me because that's my personality, right? And so obviously God had other plans and got us past that. But how did you get past that? I know how I got past it, but how, like, even still, like, I just really this month, and I've been telling everybody to do this, I've been cold messaging, and cold messaging is so hard for me. But the more I do it, the easier it's gotten. And I just have had to learn not to take stuff to heart when people don't message back or when people say no, thank you. But will you give your opinion on that and some things that maybe helped you do that? Because I know we have lots with that personality.
Yeah. I mean, it's a journey. Like some people look at the way that I post now and they're like, oh man, I wish that because I have negative people that comment quite often, but I actually love it now because I always get a customer and an ambassador when somebody's negative on one of my pages because of the way that you learn to just go back through it. But like probably 6 weeks into posting, I had posted something on my Facebook wall and I got the most hateful comment on that. And I took the whole post down and I didn't post about Plexus again for about a week and a half. Like nothing outwardly about Plexus. It crushed me. Like I can even remember it, like the anxious feeling, that pit in your stomach, like, oh, I need to make this right again and I need to work on it. But honestly, I've adapted this feeling. If you haven't read the book, The Best Yes, that is an amazing, amazing book. It's all about just picking your journey and saying yes to the things that are going to help you and knowing that saying no is not a bad thing. Present Over Perfect was another amazing book for me, if you haven't read that. Because so often, and this Present Over Perfect and then The Best Yes are 2 books that changed everything for me. But so often, and sometimes this hits us really hard as yellows, and it did with me, but we're not worried about what other people think. It's a complete perception of being worried about ourselves and not being necessarily popular and liked by everybody. And if we can realize that the true people on this journey and in our lives that love us and care for us, they are going to do it regardless of what we are thinking and saying on Facebook, if it's in a positive manner. I had the quote for like the first 6 months that I was doing this written up on my board. And it was, those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. And if somebody is not in my boat rowing the right way or rowing the same way, that they probably shouldn't be there anyway. Because I just learned from myself that I don't want those people in my life. And I did have a really big, my dad has a salvage yard, which is like they sell used parts. They buy cars that have been wrecked and he sells them. And a few months into me starting to really share Plexus, my dad's entire business burnt to the ground. And it was 2 years ago on the 5th. So in 2 days, it'll be 2 years that happened. And I remember that night, I had so many messages from people, but the people that had the most heartfelt messages and that were ready and willing to do anything for me were people that I had met through Plexus. And the people that I was really worried about never sent one message to check on me. you know, the people that we all have them, right? Like we all have those people that are on our Facebook trolling things and we're worried about what they're going to think. Guess what? They don't really care about us. And sometimes as a yellow person, like that's hard to hear. Like that was hard for me. But those people that aren't really rooting for you, you know, people are either waiting to watch you fail or they're waiting to watch you succeed. And I want the people in my life that are ready to clap for me when I do something, and when I fall, that are ready to help me back up, not clap while I'm falling. And so it really was all about this just pouring into books. You know, one of the things that I think helped me a lot is every morning when I get in the shower, I go to YouTube and I type in motivational video and I listen to a video while I'm showering. And it sounds so dumb, but I get out of the shower and I'm like ready to do like the woman power stance. Like, all right, I can tackle this, because I know I'm going to come up with opposition. I know not every single person is going to love what I'm doing. I had a level 2 over the weekend that started a really terrible rumor about one of my kids and the way that she was taking Plexus. And another one of my levels, like her level 1, called me and was like, listen, I just need you to know about this. No, I was devastated. Like I was crying. I mean, it hurts. We're human. But at the end of the day, her opinion is a reflection of her. It is not a reflection of me and what I'm doing. And jealousy makes some people do some crazy things. But I think that was a long version and probably have another rabbit trail for your question. But
no, I love every, I mean, like you should see all the notes I have written down. I'm not even kidding. Like I'm seriously, I could listen to you all day long. Like, can I just voice message you in when I'm in the shower? No. So people are loving this. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any other questions? Ariele, you can take it away too.
No, I'm good. I took a whole bunch of notes too and starred everything. It was amazing. I mean, Beth and I, you know, we're all jewels, but we still learn every single time we have one of these Zooms. Just hearing you say something, even if it's said a little bit differently, it clicks. So I've got some stuff I've got to go work on that you said today, and I'm ready. So I know Beth is too. So.
Yes, for sure. Anybody else? Do y'all have anything else?
Yeah, post your questions, and if not, we can get those to her too as well. Yeah. So reach out to us. And be sure to follow her. She's probably at her friend request limit, I bet, but you can always follow her as well. So.
Yeah.
All right.
And don't hesitate. I mean, if you guys have questions and you want to shoot them direct to me, I don't go through that other box every day, but I do go through them. Like I will get back to you.
Awesome. This has been great. Like seriously, I'm like on fire. Like after listening to you, like you really have lit a fire. So thank you very much. Thank you for spending.
I'm honored that you asked.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. We're super appreciative. And if y'all have any questions, let us know and we will get them to her. So.
Todd, we have a man. There's a couple of men on here today, and he said, "Thank you for allowing this man ambassador to listen to this amazing testimony." So
I love it. My husband, he doesn't actively work the business, but he's constantly coming home and like, "Hey, I found somebody else. Like, you need to call this person." We actually have a meeting with a husband and wife that want to do the business that he met at a farm sale last week.
I love it. Love it. All right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, anytime. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.